What if I told you Russia and China are planning a canal so ambitious that it could quietly redraw the global trade map? A canal that bypasses a powerful choke point, threatens billions in revenue for countries like Egypt and Turkey, and, unlocks a whole new trade corridor across Eurasia.
This is the Eurasia Canal, and believe me, the world is not ready for what it could change. So let's dive into what this massive project is all about and why, all of a sudden, it's seriously on the table.
Okay, so at its core, we're talking about a $20 billion plan, mainly pushed by Russia and Kazakhstan, to connect the Caspian Sea to the Black Sea. Now, the whole point here is to give landlocked Central Asia direct access to the oceans for the very first time. This would fundamentally change the economic center of gravity for the entire region.
And here's why this is all happening right now. The Red Sea crisis, right? It slashed Suez traffic in half, and shipping costs just went through the roof. The war in Ukraine showed everybody just how fragile our supply chains really are. And so suddenly, every major power started scrambling to build backup trade routes. This canal, it's not just another infrastructure project. It's really a symptom of a much bigger global realignment, a huge shift away from a world dependent on just a few routes to one with many, many redundant corridors.
And the stakes are absolutely enormous. To put this search for alternatives in context, just look at the Red Sea crisis. That one disruption cost Egypt roughly $7 billion in lost Suez Canal revenue in just 1 year. That kind of financial shock sends ripples across the globe and makes countries desperate for other options.
So what this all really means is that the search for backup routes isn't some theoretical exercise anymore. The crisis proved that even the most established, most reliable corridors, like the Suez, can become a massive liability overnight. For major nations, having different routes isn't a choice anymore. It's become a core strategic necessity.
And this new strategic reality is exactly what makes the Eurasia Canal so compelling. But to really understand what's coming, we've got to break down the numbers and, of course, the geopolitics. Let's start by looking at how this new canal would be a massive, massive upgrade from the current failing route.
So right now, Russia uses the old Soviet-era Volga-Don waterway. The problem? Well, as you can see right here, it's just too shallow, it's too narrow, and it can only handle these tiny 5,000-ton vessels. The Eurasia Canal changes everything. We're talking about ships almost double that size, fewer locks to slow things down, and it cuts nearly 1,000 kilometers off certain routes. It's a complete game changer. This brings up a really fascinating question, and I want to know what you think. For the future of global trade, what matters more, pure speed of delivery or who actually controls the strategic choke points? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Okay, now let's get to the part that most headlines miss, the real, tangible impact this would have on global trade volumes and the balance of power.
Now, looking at this chart, you can see the Eurasia Canal isn't a direct Suez competitor, not even close. The Suez handles a mind-boggling 1.3 billion tons. The new canal is projected to handle between 45 to 75 million, but, and this is a big but, that is still a transformative volume of cargo. It's enough to completely remake Central Asia's economy. Kazakhstan alone could shift 30% of its exports through this one corridor.
And this number right here, this perfectly illustrates why a country like Egypt is so nervous. Egypt makes over $10 billion a year from the Suez Canal. But after the Red Sea crisis kicked off, those revenues plummeted by a staggering 61%. This makes them incredibly vulnerable to any new corridor, even one that's far away, because it threatens their long-term monopoly on regional trade. For Moscow, this is a strategic masterstroke. It cuts down Russia's dependence on NATO-controlled choke points like the Bosphorus Strait, and it positions Russia as the essential gatekeeper for all of Central Asia's sea trade. This would give them a huge amount of leverage in the region. And of course, the transit fees would be a very welcome stream of revenue for an economy hit hard by sanctions. And then, of course, you've got China. Beijing hasn't been making any flashy announcements, but you better believe it's quietly exploring funding. Why? Well, because a canal that runs through friendly territory is the ultimate insurance policy. It protects them against potential future naval blockades by the US at choke points like Malacca or Hormuz. It's a key strategic piece in their whole Belt and Road puzzle. So, with all these moves on the board, who actually wins and who loses if the Eurasia Canal becomes a reality? Let's break down the geopolitical scorecard. The winners are pretty clear. Russia gets more leverage, Kazakhstan basically becomes a maritime economy overnight, China gets another secure corridor, and all of Central Asia finally gets unlocked access to global markets. The losers? Well, Egypt faces that long-term pressure on its Suez revenue, and Turkey loses some of its strategic influence over who gets to access the Black Sea.
But India is the real wild card here. And you might be surprised to hear that India could actually benefit, indirectly. You see, the Eurasia Canal strengthens something called the INSTC. That's the trade corridor India is already building out with Iran and Russia. If both of these corridors grow together, India becomes a major anchor in a new multipolar trade system, which would be a huge boost to its global standing.
But there is a massive, and I mean massive, potentially fatal flaw in this entire plan. A multi-billion-dollar gamble that seems to be ignoring a terrifying environmental reality.
What if this grand vision, this $20 billion geopolitical power play, is being built on literally shrinking ground? This is where the whole story takes a very sharp and very unexpected turn.
Get this. The Caspian Sea, the canal's main water source, is disappearing. Climate models are projecting that its water level is going to drop by a staggering 9 to 18 meters by the end of this century. To put that into perspective for you, that's the height of a 5-story building. Just gone.
And this isn't just a challenge, it is an existential threat to the entire project. A drop of that magnitude could leave the canal's entrance kilometers away from the shoreline, turning a multi-billion-dollar investment into a completely useless ditch in the desert. It would go down as one of the biggest engineering failures in modern history.
So here's the bottom line. The Eurasia Canal probably won't be built tomorrow, but the very fact that it's being proposed signals something much bigger. We are entering an era that's no longer dependent on one or two choke points. We're entering an era where nations are creating a whole web of backup corridors. And it's a world where new winners and new losers will emerge from every single shift in global trade. So I'll leave you with this question. Do you think the future will be ruled by many interconnected canals, or will it still be dominated by one major route, like the Suez? Let me know below. If you found this breakdown useful, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. It really helps us keep creating these deeper, clearer global analyses. And hey, if you want to support our work directly, the Buy Me a Coffee link is down in the description. It truly helps us keep making these explainers for you.
Thanks for watching.